get absorbed in, and you are Sonic.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me are my co-hosts, Tyler Reed.
Howdy, y'all.
And Sean Evans.
I think that every dog in 2020 should be named after the dog that went in and blew up al-Baghdadi. I'm just saying. Every dog for the whole year of 2020. That's all of them have the same name.
Dodging that conversation, Tyler, what was our challenge this week?
This week, challenged by Brandon and on Twitter to find a actually good country song. Hilarious when you consider the possibilities.
You know, this challenge has an air of condescension to it, right? When Brandon tweeted this in as actually good country songs, it's like, you're already kind of tipping your hand there, Brandon, that you're not a big fan of country. And I understand, you know, it's not a genre for everybody, and it's been historically maligned. But as somebody who is starting to appreciate country more, I really kind of wanted to go at this and look at things that kind of have helped me to grow an interest in country, and not necessarily like the stereotypical things, because I feel like a lot of times people will say, well, I don't like country except for like classic country. And then they list off a bunch of artists from like the randomest period of times, like Tim McGraw, but also Dolly Parton, but also Hank Williams, but also Johnny Cash. Like, they just kind of like randomly throw a smattering of legends, and they're like, well, yeah, I like those, but I don't really like country.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
And I feel like that's a cop-out answer. And so I wanted to find something contemporary that echoes the classic traditions of country music, but is really modern. Actually, the song I picked actually came out this year. I wanted to kind of show that, like, there's really good country happening right now. And I want to give a quick shout out to my 10-Minute Tech Talk co-host, Emily Bamforth, who, despite being British, is a huge country music fan and really helped me out with this challenge. I didn't end up picking any of her suggestions, but I'll share a bunch of great stuff in B-sides that she showed me. Yeah, I feel like I had a really fun time with this week. I learned about a lot of new country music that I wasn't aware of, but where are you guys on this? Do you listen to a lot of country? What's your experience with it? How do you approach it?
No, and in the Americana and folk sense.
Can you elaborate a little?
Answer to question 1. No. Answer to question 2. In the Americana and folk sense. I don't understand how much more you want me to talk about this. I've listened to it in the past if it's like been on the radio, but I don't seek out modern country music. I seek out Americana and folk.
Which, to be fair, are like sister genres of country.
Yeah, in the same way that a pig is a sister to a cow, and a snake is a sister to a fish.
Wait.
Oh, now, come on. Americana is like a
completely
rock
different.
and roll offshoot of country. We're just going to have to agree to disagree on this one. I can just tell, because I've always viewed Americana as kind of an interpretation somewhere between folk, rock, and country. Like, it's got a little bit of all of those things, but it's not quite any one of them.
I think we should just take this time to remind everyone that Sean is under the belief that Under Oath is a post-rock band.
Oh my god!
So if we're playing
genres don't matter, you can call anything.
The genres
anything.
don't matter game, then I think if you're
then Atreyu is a country band. Yes,
Atreyu is a country band. No, you're right. I mean, I think if anything, you would say that. Because, like, I had some trouble with this challenge because I wanted to be specific. I wanted to be country, but I didn't want to, you know, like, I had to, like, remember, like, what country. I had to, like, read the definition. And it's kind of, like, a really vague genre anyway, because it's just, like, melancholy things with, like, these instruments, generally about these topics. You're like, that's not real. That's if you play well, I guess to be fair, ska is just if you play well, it's technically not punk, but like ska punk is just like a punk band with a trombone. You're like, what's the difference? Not a lot.
One has a trombone, idiot. Oh my god, why do I have to explain this to you?
So I mean, like Americana, bluegrass, folk, they're all like.
Don't say it.
They're like second
don't even
cousins.
finish that thought. Just move on.
They're second cousins.
No. Oh.
They're similar, Sean. You have to admit that they're at least similar.
What does that mean? That means that country and rock are the same thing because they both have 6-string guitars in them.
They are very similar. Rock and roll is extremely influenced by country.
What's the difference between Under Oath and like Trace Adkins? It's all the same, right?
No, you're taking my argument way too far. I'm saying that country and Americana and folk and bluegrass, Tyler brings up an interesting point, are all acoustic heavy genres, although country has increasingly grown more electric as it's been influenced by pop music, and they all rely on similar song structures and vocal melodies and harmony structures, and they're all kind of descended from American folk music, and not like folk as a genre, but American folk music as a movement of like,
Yes. Yeah.
you know.
I know where you're going with this one. I agree with that.
Whereas rock and roll introduces more of the blues and R&B influence that you don't see in a traditional definition of like country or Americana.
Oh, thank you, Professor. God, I'm glad somebody here knows how to explain their arguments, because I sure can't.
I mean, it is interesting though, because I think like Sean kind of brings up an interesting point, and so do you, Tyler, that like country is simultaneously like a very specific thing, but also very hard to define. And I think even more recently, as country has like become poppier, a lot of what's on country music radio now, I would say a lot of people would not have called country 20 or 30 years ago. Would you at least agree with that statement, Sean, that like country music in quotes now is not the country of 1989, 1990?
Well, that's because I believe that calling something country music is basically like saying what pop music is.
True. Yeah.
The genre is very fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like kind of I really stick to like defining it as a different genre entirely than folk and bluegrass and everything, because while it may share some of the same elements, you know, folk has a formula, bluegrass has a particular sound. Like there is certain things that do not make those genres of the same kind of like poppiness that you would consider country. What was there a time where like singer-songwriter folk-esque music like Bobby Bear might have been considered country music? Yes. I think you could even make a very strong argument that Johnny Cash is considered country music, but I don't think that you would hear like Johnny Cash today on country music. I don't think that. I think country music is like the umbrella term for what's popular at the time.
That's fair. I guess the way I look at it is more like an analogy that I got in a music history class in undergrad was like they are tributaries of the same major river, right? And in this case, the professor was talking about rock and roll, but I think you could do the same thing with modern country or with like the air quotes country music, that like in the American folk music tradition, you have kind of like the major river, like call it the Mississippi. And then you have all of these tributaries that run off of that are, you know, folk or bluegrass or contemporary country or whatever you want to call them. But at one point in history, all of those things were part of the same like original body. And so they all share these formal elements from where they came from. And that's kind of the way that I think of those genres as being related, is that at their root, they all come from the same place, even if they've diverged greatly in the last 50 years. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's an acceptable analogy.
Acceptable, I'll take it. So then how did you pick your song this week, Sean?
I thought about a country song that I really like, and I picked it.
There you go.
It was a pretty clear choice. I tried to look for some other ones, but I just was like, no, this is it. I can go into it later in my pick, but that's kind of exactly what happened. It was just like, yep.
Slapped it in, he knew what he wanted. Me, on the other hand, I floundered for several hours today. Listened to hours and hours and hours and hours, just like 11 a.m. to like 5 p.m. Just like trying to find different stuff. Because really, what I was trying to find, I was like, well, what's kind of going on in like some more modern or like alternative country spaces? And really, which is kind of like where my thought was that when I said that like it kind of mixes with like bluegrass and folk and all sorts of stuff, because like a lot of like kind of artists were kind of dipping their toes into a few different things, and like Wikipedia like would label them with these additional like characteristics. And so it was like, okay, well, and I was like, I wanted to be squarely country. Like I didn't want this to be I didn't want this episode to be like, well, I don't know if this was country enough. You know, I didn't want to, like, I wanted to make sure that it was sure. Like, an artist that I found, like, I actually listened to Blitzen Trapper before, but it had been a minute since I listened to them, and they're technically considered, like, alt country, which is a whole other, like, bag of worms to, like, dig into that, like, you know, like, what does that even mean? But I was like, I don't know if this really feels that country, even though they're kind of, like, labeled as that. And so really what I was Taylor and I basically kind of chose from the same kind of like pool of artists where they're kind of contemporary. They're writing like pretty squarely like within the country standard, but with like less pop sensibilities, a little bit more of like a what you would probably consider a classic country.
Yeah, you're kind of right in line with what I was looking for, Tyler. I spent a lot of the week kind of jumping around on like the current top country chart on Apple Music and some just like random country playlists that they had, because they have all of these like mood-based playlists for every genre of like, you know, country workout and hip hop morning and like all of this stuff. And so I was just like randomly picking through the different country ones and seeing what was in there. And the thing that I kind of came to, and we'll probably get into this in my pick a little bit, is that I just don't really like male vocals in my country music. Like, there's something about the way that at least contemporary male country vocals are sung, like the style of twang that's used on the vocal and the like weird vibrato. It doesn't do anything for me. But I really enjoy a good female vocal in country, and particularly when there's big soaring harmonies. And so I knew that that's what I wanted. And I kind of worked from that template, and I asked Emily and a couple other people I know that listen to country music for like, who are your favorite female country artists of the moment? And I got a huge long list, but then I ended up going back to what was kind of my original pick, because that song just kind of spoke to me in a way that I felt like I wanted represented on the playlist. But I found a lot of really great stuff, and I'm really excited to dig deeper into this. Obviously, like, there have been strong women performers in country music, you know, basically since the dawn of the genre. But it's nice to know about some of the newer faces in that space that aren't, you know, the Dolly Partons or the Taylor Swifts of the world. Like some smaller acts or up and coming acts that I'm really excited to follow.
Picking up on that, I watched a video that was talking about how women are kind of taking over. Well, taking over is not the right word, but like kind of like being a more like major force like in the rock scene. And they would say that a lot of them are kind of like are making sort of like more interesting music by comparison to like their male contemporaries currently, because there's less ground, you know, like there's less like women in rock to like kind of base themselves off of. And so I would say, almost say in a similar way, this would make sense for country. Sure, there's like the greats, but you know, there's not as many women probably making country music. So there's less like, there's not like a standard. Like, I feel like there's like a standard template of a male vocalist for country, and so I feel like that's probably why I was like leaning towards a woman, because I felt like that would be more, it would be more exciting, more interesting for me to hear. I mean, of course, I'm not well versed in the genre, and Taylor made it sound like there's actually quite a few women that are making country. So,
well, who wants to go first this week?
I'll go first. Why not?
All right, Sean, what do you got for us this week?
Okay, so this week, Watching You by Rodney Adkins.
Well, in my 4-year-old said a 4-letter word. It started with S, and I was concerned. So I said, son, now where'd you learn to talk like that? He said, I've been watching you, Dad, ain't that cool? I'm your buckaroo, I wanna be like you and eat all my food and grow as tall as you are.
So I think the first time I heard this song was like my junior year in high school. I used to work with a guy who listened to a lot of country music, so it was on all the time. And I remember this song because I thought it was like it's really catchy, and I feel like it's a little easy to relate to. I think this song came out in like 2006, so that sounds about right. But it's very like storyteller, acoustic guitar with some like chorus vocals and, you know, some real life relational stories. It kind of just epitomizes what I think country music was at that time. It gets stuck in my head all the time too, and it's kind of funny, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Remember like 3 minutes ago when I said that I don't like male country vocals?
Yeah.
This is exactly what I was thinking of. I had forgotten about Rodney Atkins existing, and then when this song came in, I listened to it and I was like, boy, this voice sounds familiar. And then I looked and realized this came off of an album that had a much more popular single, If You're Going Through Hell, which is the title track of the album. And I distinctly remember hating that song when it came out and was super popular and like crossed over onto pop radio. Oh, I hated that song. I had never heard this before. And so just hearing his voice like gave me flashbacks of like 2006, like the Bush administration, the Iraq war, and like You're Going Through Hell is just playing on repeat on every radio station in town. But once I got over that, which I did get over it, I promise. I agree with you. I think it's a really well written song for the like. It does a really good job of communicating a story with a fair amount of emotional weight in a really short runtime. Like, it's a 4-minute song, but you get the bulk of the story in like the first 2 minutes. I do think it's a little repetitive. Like, he runs through the chorus a lot of times, and I don't think it's a strong enough chorus to justify that repetition. Like, I want a little bit more. I think I want a bigger chorus, like something a little more anthemic if it's going to be this kind of upbeat country. But the verses are really solid. And I think he does a really good job of using traditional instruments in a way that doesn't feel like too hackneyed. Like, it's really well mixed. You get some fiddle, you get some guitar. There's a little tiny bit of piano, like just a little.
Yeah, you get piano. You get like electric guitar. You get lap steel. You get bass. You get
you get a little bit of everything, but it's not like anything is overpowering. You know.
Right.
Because I think there is a tendency to like really overdo the lap steel or really overdo a banjo to make it like scream country. And this doesn't do that, which I really like. I think it's like technically a really good song and it is super catchy. But again, I just think the chorus is a little weak. But, you know, all in all, it's a good song.
I listened to the song 6 times. I never want to hear the word buckaroo ever again.
Oh, you're my buckaroo. Did you eat those as a kid?
Dunkaroos?
Yeah. Same thing.
Yes. Do they still make Dunkaroos?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I'm sure you could buy some on eBay. So, despite this...
Just go get some icing and graham crackers. It's the same thing.
Right. No, you're right. This is just the cheesiest possible.
Real-time follow-up Dunkaroos were discontinued in 2012.
Wait, what's that?
Real-time follow-up Dunkaroos were discontinued in the United States in 2012, but continue to be sold in Canada.
Oh, well, I guess you gotta go to Canada to get some Dunkies.
Yeah, but if you go to Canada, you gotta get milk in a bag.
It's fine. Is it cold?
Yeah, but it's in a bag.
Well, I mean, as long as it's cold, I feel like that's okay.
Anyway.
It's a very long tangent. I was trying to get us back on course. So I think this song is very, very cheesy. And just, like, there's so many, like, words this person has said out loud that are now gonna be, like, imprinted into my brain. And despite, like, me having, like, just being completely, like, repulsed by this, like, just the caucasity of this relationship. It's just saying shit. You're like, oh no, you spilled your OJ. We're praying to God. That would be just like you, Dad.
I wasn't not saying that it's full of cliche stuff, because that's what country music's all about, man.
No, you're right. It's exactly that.
That's why country music isn't folk, because it's full of cliches.
That's correct. No, you're right. So I mean, it's just a lot. I don't have a lot to say. That being said, like, I have to like put like my personal bias like completely out of it and say that it is in fact catchy. It is not like actually painful to listen to. I think it's just because it's like the repetition, I think at some point gets to you, I think with any song. And that's coming from me, the person who listens to songs over and over again. Sometimes songs have things that like get stuck in my brain. This is definitely one of those songs. This is not the most insufferable country song I've ever heard. So I think that's as good as it's gonna get for me. I think it follows a lot of the common conventions of country, but I don't think it makes it so painful that it's not unlistenable.
This is gonna be you're gonna be doing something tomorrow, and you're gonna hear this.
I'm just gonna remember the word buckaroo Yeah, that's very creepy.
Hey, I've been watching you, Dad, ain't that cool? And you're just gonna be like, oh my god, where is that coming from? Who are you? Get out of my head.
You were right though, because I was like, saw the name of the song. I was like, is this gonna be? How weird is this gonna be?
Listen, I'm not Taylor, okay? I pick regular things.
Oh, come on.
Is that just... I feel like if anyone picks something weird, it's gonna be me. I don't know what we're talking about. I feel like it's...
Yeah, just because he swiped at me, I feel
This
like I'm
week
going to
on the
go
race
next.
for last.
All right, Sean. This week, I chose "You've Got Other Girls for That" by Lily May.
No, you've got other girls for that. No, I'm just here to play. And it ain't like you, babe, to know me well. You've got other girls for that. I'm just here to play. And it ain't like you, babe, to know me well.
Lily May is a singer-songwriter, fiddle player, and guitar player from Nashville. I first discovered her when she toured with Jack White and then played on a couple of his albums and did some other like studio fiddle work for his label Third Man Records. And this is off of her third solo album, Other Girls, that came out this summer. And I've been really digging this record all summer long. It's got this great like classic country influence, but with a bit of a modernized production behind it. This song in particular, I just love the huge, like, reverberated choruses and, like, the soaring vocal harmonies that Lily is singing here. She has one of those voices that can really just kind of blend well. She sang a lot of backup vocals on the Jack White tours that she was on, and I had the chance to see her perform, and it's just really mesmerizing to like watch her sing and harmonize because she just fits into the pitches so well. Like it feels like she just lives in that space. And so to have an album where she's just harmonizing with herself for like an hour is kind of everything that I wanted, and I'm really pleased with it. This song in particular, I feel, is probably the most classical, like country-esque song in the album. It is still alternative country for sure. Like it's not pure through and through country, but this and Didn't I are the two countryest songs, and this is the sadder of the two. So I really wanted to kind of lean into this like melancholy feel that she has, and I love that line, you know, "You've got other girls for that, I'm just here to play." Like it's very kind of dark and menacing, but also sad. And I just really, I like the way the song is constructed, and I love just the sonic atmosphere of it. There's even a little bit of fiddle on it. My main critique is that I want a big fiddle solo on this song because she's such a good fiddle player, but you don't get that until later in the album. So,
All right, let's just get right into this. First comment: I hate you because this is amazing.
oh, thank
But
you.
But I can tell you why this is amazing, because basically you've just discovered something that you knew that I already loved. Because you know that I love Lana, and all you did was find Rhonda Del
country
Chevrolet, the country version of Lana Del Rey, and put her on the playlist. And then you just turned it in like it wasn't some kind of super mega crowd pleaser that I wasn't going to just absolutely love. Because I hate reverb, I hate delay, I hate acoustic guitar, I hate wonderful lyrics, and I hate voices, and I hate moodiness. So, you know what? You're just turned in a bunch of garbage and called it amazing, and I totally bought it. I was like, you know what? This snake oil changed my life. And I don't like you. But this song is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to probably be listening to the Lily May for, oh man, at least the next 5 years. See, and you know who the real victim of all this is, probably? Always.
Oh no.
Yeah, because this is like the country merge of Always and Lana Del Rey.
That's...
Oh no.
You're the worst. But this is
Isn't
wonderful.
she so good?
She is. It's amazing. I'm excited to listen to more stuff. I can't believe you only has 50,000 views on this video. I feel like you should build some kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sean basically nailed it. I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's Lily Mae was kind of like on my hit list of someone to check out. It was kind of like in one of the related artists. And I would say I don't love it as much as Sean, but I do think it's very cool. I think I definitely agree that I got some some Lana vibes from it. But really, it doesn't take a lot to be Lana. It takes just those reverb, echoey, soft, but wistful vocals. No, I
Use your words.
this feels like it almost barely counts as country.
Oh,
I mean, it has lap steel and fiddle and a twangy harmonized vocal, and it's sad. I mean, what else could you want?
Well, I mean,
this sounds like you just described folk, Taylor.
Ugh.
Did you just pick a folk song for a country music challenge?
no.
If anything, I picked an Americana song. Thank you.
Everyone, put your guns down. All right, I'm saying that only in that like I just feel like this is sort of such a nebulous like I feel like the alt space of country is so nebulous. There's like so many like there's so much like.
Look at him weasel his way into making his pick count. He's already freaking out and he hasn't even presented yet.
It feels country. Like I feel like I can sense the spirit, but I'm like, I feel like if I'm like writing down the list of things, I'm like, does it need to have the steel guitar? Like I don't know.
It's the combination of all the things that makes it country.
Yeah.
It's not any one of the things. It's all of them put together.
Right. And intent?
Which, I mean, she clearly presents herself as a country music artist from Nashville, the country music capital of the world.
Yeah.
Just saying. Since you're out here playing genre police, why don't you go next, Tyler?
No.
You're the last one.
I'm gonna get beat up. This week I chose Right Time by Nikki Lane.
Any day or night time, it's always the right time. It's always the right time to do the wrong thing. If you're looking for a good time, you and me will get on just fine. It's always the right time to do the wrong thing.
In the back of my mind, actually, after I had picked this song, I had remembered that someone on Instagram had posted a live video recording of this artist playing. And I was like, I know who this is. Not like know them, but like I've heard this before. And I was like, this is really cool because like I remember hearing it. And I was like, this is country, or like whatever you want to call it. But I was like, this feels I like it. Which feels strange because I think at that time it had been like maybe like a year ago. I was like, this genre is a genre I never would have even touched. But I looked around at like Wilco, like Blitzen Trapper, like a bunch of like just other people, and I was like, there's got to be something here, somebody that's doing something that really speaks to me. And I think just after I listened to like a bunch of stuff, this song just kind of kept coming back to my mind. And it's just kind of like, I think it's got kind of like if we're going by definition, it's got a nice twangy vocal. It's got some kind of crunchy guitar, there's a little bit of steel guitar in there. And I kind of like it's a little dark. And I feel like country, sometimes it's about doing bad stuff, but making it sound like fun. Like drinking, doing drugs, like, ooh, so edgy, but like, haha. And so I think the song delivers that in spades. I just like the attitude. I think it's great. It's great.
I like this too. Not as much as Lily Mae, but it's really good. It kind of sounds like a more updated, like Dolly Parton.
Yeah, this does seem like a song that Dolly would sing. I think the thing that's holding me back on this song, and it's not holding me back a lot, like, I do really like this song, and the chorus is so catchy. Oh my gosh, this chorus is stuck in my head. My problem is actually with the mix. There's an electric banjo on this track, but you can barely hear it. It's so far down that, like, if you're not listening for it on the chorus, you can't really hear that it's there. And you can really hear it on the bridge. And when you hear it on the bridge, it makes me want it through the whole song. I feel like that would really kind of push it over the edge and just give it a little more momentum. Because for a song that's about, like, doing bad things and being an outlaw, it doesn't have a lot of push for me. And I feel like just that arpeggiated banjo would really kind of give it that extra little propulsiveness that would kind of shove it forward. Because just like the hand claps and the kind of, like you said, like the crunchy, like Southern rock guitar, it's not quite enough for me. But I mean, that's production. I think like her voice is great. The songwriting is excellent. This is a really cool little song. And I want to check out Nikki Lane more. I think she's got an awesome voice and I want to learn more.
And now it's time for notable B-sides. These are songs that were so close to making it to the rodeo, but, well, didn't quite make it into the ring. Anybody want to boot, scoot, and boogie some B-sides out this time?
Sure. I almost picked this song that was recommended by aforementioned 10-Minute Tech Talk host Emily Bamforth. This Town Is Killing Me by Caitlin Smith. She's incredible. Also, a live favorite of mine that I caught at the Bunbury Festival years ago. The One I Love Is Gone by the Secret Sisters. Never Be Ourselves by Savannah Conley. And then Crowded Table by the Highwomen. That record has gotten a lot of love this year. It's like a 5-woman country supergroup. So if you really like big vocal harmonies, that Highwomen record is something to check out because it's just like 5 great voices just harmonizing all over the place for an hour. It's so good. Or sorry, there are 4 of them, not 5.
Some people that I found was Trinity Lane by Willie Hyatt, and then Fur by Blitzen Trapper, and then Terlingua Girl by Lily May. She was Terlingua. Also off the same album that Taylor picked his song from. So we almost had an oopsie doodle.
Almost, but we avoided it.
So I don't really have specific songs as much as I do artists that I was thinking about picking from. Like I really love Dolly Parton. I like Brooks and Dunn. I really like Bobby Barr. I know I already talked about him in a second, but if you like want to hear a good song, I really enjoy Dropkick Me Jesus.
That song is a classic. As
It's just
ridiculous
pretty
as
good.
it is, it's a classic.
Johnny Cash, I can't leave him out of this. I think you gotta talk about Johnny Cash. I think it depends on like how deep. I don't know if you want to call it country or this is where it gets kind of vague when you get to the beginnings. Like I like Son House and I like, anybody who inspired the White Stripes. I went through a time where I was really into them and I looked at all their other influences from, Jack White influences from when he was a kid and, blues kind of sound, blues country. Yeah, that's a good start.
All right, well, Tyler, if people want to call you their buckaroo, where can they do that?
Hey everybody, you can find my design illustration work at rudepets.club, and as always, you can find me in socials as Rude Pets Club on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if people want to join you and I in the Lily May fan club, where can they do that?
You can find me on Instagram at Sean_Del
And if you want to suggest more country music that I should listen to, you can send that stuff to me on the socials at TC Olmstead. And as always, you can check out our playlists on Apple Music and Spotify for all of the songs we picked this week. And we'll be back next week with 3 more songs on another episode of No Repeat.